Hi, everybody. Welcome back to my podcast. This is Arun Gala. My podcast is called Grabbing Coffee with Arun. And basically, in the podcast, I talk to everyday people that are doing interesting things. And today I'm excited to talk to Jessica Willy. She's been a reporter for Channel 13 here locally in Houston for many years. Just to start off with Jessica, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So, Jessica, tell me a little bit about your fascination world of reporting.
Well, just like any job, there are ups and downs, things you love and things you don't love so much. But I have been blessed, I feel, by being at a great station and KTRK TV, ABC 13 here in Houston for 25 years now. It's been 25 years
Wow.
this year. 2025, I came in the year 2000 when I was very young.
Um,
um, and I think one of the highlights of what I do is that I every day is different. We rarely do we cover the same thing, over and over. Just like everything, every story, every day brings you something new.
it's kind of interesting. How do you guys I'm kind of curious. How do you guys pick a story?
Yeah.
Is it like, do you do a lot of research or?
Yeah, I mean that I think that's one of the number one questions that we get.
Hmm,
Oftentimes, I've been here, a couple of decades, so I have people who do reach out to me, or sources and contacts who reach out to me, and basically, the conversation is they're trying to pitch a story, or they're
hmm,
tipping me off to something that's interesting happening, or something that's um, corrupt that's happening, or whatever it might be, and from there, I do some research and see what I can kind of grab a hold onto, see what I can get to stick, what interviews I could possibly get in the process. And then we have an editorial meeting two of them every day. One for the day side, if you will, a day shift, a day part, another one
hmm,
for a night shift, night part, and that's the one I participate in for the 10 for looking ahead to the 10 o'clock news.
hmm.
And that's where we pitch our stories. And if we don't have a good story pitch, then there are other things floating around, or there might be breaking news that we're just assigned to, from our assignments desk or from our news managers. So it's kind of like a lot of moving parts. There are days when you start out on one story, and we move on to something else, or something else happens that we have to cover, and we get moved, shifted. You might be working for 5 hours on one story, and all of that gets condensed down to something very short and sweet that the anchor might read, or it might be held for another day because something else more important, or that's in the moment, breaking at that moment is happening, and so we are assigned and shifted somewhere else. And it could be anywhere in our viewing area. We might be in downtown Houston,
Hmm.
and we get a call from the desk, or these days text message, or direct message in our newsroom apps, to go to Baytown, or head up to the Woodlands, or head over
Right.
to Katy. I mean, it could be anywhere, any day. It's hard to predict
So,
what will happen.
so have you traveled a lot, Jessica, during your reporting time?
Yeah,
I guess.
yeah. I mean, more so early on, when I didn't have a
Experience.
family.
Hmm.
Yeah, when I didn't have a family, mostly it just made it easier, more conducive to travel. But yeah, I
Right.
mean, Channel 13 allowed me to go to Italy, to Rome twice to cover
Wow.
Pope John Paul the second's, when he was hospitalized. Then when he died, I've been to
Hmm.
Mexico, covering earthquakes. I've been to Iraq and Kuwait, when we covered a conflict there. Uh, all over the United States, spent weeks in Washington, D.C., covering the hearings after the Enron collapse, the congressional hearings. I mean, just wherever, the local story may have taken us. I was often, packing a bag and heading out. So went to New Orleans so many times, you know, for Hurricane Katrina, and then in the months and years afterwards,
Yeah,
Colorado,
I
for
read where
all kinds of stories. Yep.
Yeah, I read where you covered the Boston bombings too, right?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think I was pregnant at that time with my
Hmm.
last child, and I went to college in Boston at Boston
Right.
University. So,
Hmm.
I quickly raised my hand and said, "I'll go" when that happened, and then I was to. It was an emotional experience for me then to kind of come back and be able to run the marathon twice and think about those victims
Right.
and where they may have stood when that was happening and the uncertainty for the runners and for the spectators. Yeah, so that was an moving experience and just emotional because I love Boston and so had such a great experience there when I was as a young person, and so to be able to visit it in different capacities over the years has
So, what was
been
your time
incredible.
in what was your time in Boston? Is it pretty good, or back when you were younger? I guess you had a pretty good time, or
Oh, for the marathon?
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm proud of it. It wasn't that long ago. I ran in 2021 and 2023.
Hmm.
So I ran my first one. I was not as prepared as I wish I had been.
Right.
Sometimes ignorance is bliss, but I wish I had taken the hills more seriously and the hill training more seriously. So I ran 4:10.
That's pretty good, though,
Um,
right?
yeah, it's not, it's respectable. And then I
Hmm.
ran under 4 hours for my second one, which will be my last one for knee reasons.
Right.
um, so I ran in the oh my gosh, I can't even remember my exact time. Isn't that a
Yeah.
shame? Oh
Yeah.
my, I should be. I feel terrible about that. I can't
You
remember, but it
know,
was it was under 4 hours.
right, but Jessica, you have to qualify for Boston, right? They don't. You
Yes.
don't just say, "Okay, I'm going to do it," and then that's
No,
what I've
yeah,
been told.
yeah, and it's as you get older, the
Hmm.
times are a little slower. So I was able to I qualified in 3:38 here in Houston. I was very
Wow.
proud of that time. It was I was so elated and so proud of myself, and I felt like it was quite an accomplishment. People, work their whole lives to try to qualify for the Boston Marathon and aren't able to, and so I can definitely recognize that that's a big accomplishment, and I was very proud of myself.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what are you trying to run away from?
Right, right.
um,
I think it's just the competition, and
right.
trying to prove that you can still do something as you're getting older.
Let me ask you something about the reporting and all these
Mhm.
reporters. And it seems like, when I see all of you guys working, are you guys like limited to certain area or certain topics, or like, let's say, for example, like city government, are you limited to that, or does everybody do they
I
cover
think we
everything?
all, yeah, I mean, for the most part, we're all general assignment reporters, so we can cover almost
Whatever.
any topic. Yeah, I mean, we're supposed to be very adept at covering whatever subject is thrown at us. But I think a lot of us have the areas that we enjoy covering more than
Hmm.
others. And some of it depends on like when you work, like when you're, what shift, what day, what part of the day you work. If you work for the early news, for the 3, 4, 5, and 6 o'clock news, you're going to be the person who may cover City Hall, or who might cover Commissioner's Court, or who
Hmm.
might cover um, more schools, or education on the school side, just for the sheer factor of the time of the day,
Hmm.
that things happen. City council has in the morning. So um, but at night, having been a nightside reporter for so many years, I unfortunately cover a lot of crime, or the impact of crime on
Right.
communities and neighborhoods, or the criminal justice system. That's where my interests lie, and some of it's just how it falls as far as the shift that I work.
Right. Right. What are some of the like, I know you've worked a long time, but are there any two crazy stories that kind of stand out in your mind, or
I mean, all of them are, there's always something. You should be able to find something unique and interesting about every story, because that's how you get people, that's how you make it more compelling, and how you get people interested in what you're trying to convey.
right?
Um, I currently am able to work on longer form pieces called for our Texas True Crime franchise.
Hmm.
And I really enjoy those. And I just think that, everyday people doing extraordinary things or overcoming extraordinary, or the most challenging of circumstances,
Right.
those are the kinds of stories that really stand out, that people remember, that the viewer remembers, that are compelling.
Jessica, for some reason, my parents and I've been watching Channel 13 for like 50 years.
For
And
some
for some,
reason, you know why? Because we're the
well,
best station.
well, the thing of it is, it's like you guys keep your reporters. Like I go back, like, I don't know if you remember, like Elma Barrera, like Marvin
Yep.
Zingler.
Yes.
Is there like a magic solution to keeping all these reporters for a long time, or
I
I guess
think
it's
it's
owned by
just
Disney, so.
yeah, I mean, I think it's the work environment. I think it's,
Hmm.
we're owned by a stable company,
Right.
an international company, with good benefits.
Hmm.
I think all those factor in. And just because, traditionally Channel 13 has been Houston's news leader. I mean, we're during times of crisis, this is where our viewers turn to and,
Hmm.
depend on for, the best information, on weather events. And so I think that all of that makes us more stable, and employees want to be a part of stability, don't they?
Right, right. Did you ever get to see like Ed Brandon or
Oh yes, I worked with them. I mean, I worked with them.
mhm,
I worked with all of the all of those legends: Dave Ward, Marvin Zindler, Ed Brandon, Sheriff Fryer, Bob Allen, all of
yeah.
them. And they were great personalities, and they were individuals, and that is the reason for their
Yeah.
longevity.
I don't
And
remember when
and
Marvin
Dave
Ziegler
Ward
died,
has.
so.
It was, oh, I can tell you, it was 2007, because I just had my oldest child, and
Right.
I was in the hospital when
Hmm.
he watching the memorial service. Um, I missed because I was having a baby.
Right.
Yes, I remember 2007.
So Jessica, for younger girls that want to do what you're doing, any any takeaways, any advice that you can give them, or?
Advice is just, and I think they already do this. They already know how to use social media. They already know how to
Hmm.
edit, and I think nowadays a lot of it is kind of creating your brand, creating who you are.
Hmm.
And this is different from when I started. Remember, but I'm as an observer
Hmm.
currently, um, and then just deciding what you want to do, and go for it. I mean, I do think media is evolving. I mean, it's changing so much and so fast. Media, the news is always going to be there. I'm not sure what it's going to look like in 10 years, but I think it's with any career, with anything you want to do, with any goal, set your
Hmm.
sight and be persistent,
Hmm.
and don't give up, is what I would say.
Yeah. No.
It took me it I will say this, it took me a year to get
Hmm.
my first job in this business. And I had to constantly send out my work, and
Right.
finally after a year I got a job, and it was not in the best place, but it was in a good place for me.
Right.
And but it didn't come right away. It took me a year, and I had to work in a different industry for a year
Right.
before I started, before I was able to do what I really wanted to do in my
Well,
life
but
for my career.
when you first started, they didn't have this 24-hour stream, right? I don't think
Oh
Channel
no,
13
no,
did.
no. We had no none of that, none of that. So I
So
mean,
that's changed, I guess.
it's changed so rapidly, and just more product, just so many more things. I mean, you have to work so fast and create so much and produce so much more nowadays than when I started, 25 years ago,
So
30 years ago.
with all these podcasts and all that, Jessica, so do you think like a lot of do you think people are watching local news, or what do you think?
I think it's eroded the viewership, no doubt. I mean, the numbers say that,
Mm-hmm.
the ratings say that,
Mm-hmm.
but people still find our product. They just find it in different places on different platforms, on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook.
Hmm.
We're producing, but we're not producing just for broadcast anymore. We're producing for all of those other platforms.
Right.
And so people are still consuming our product, just somewhere else, not always on broadcast on TV.
Yeah, you're pretty good at what you do. Do you have any aspirations to go like work for like a national?
No, that ship has sailed. Like if I wanted to do that, if I wanted to do that, I would have done that
Right.
15 years ago. I like being in Houston. My husband's job is here, and
Right. Your
yeah,
kids are here, so
yeah. I mean, we set down our roots here. We enjoy living here, and I have three kids, almost all teenagers now. So we're not uprooting anybody at this moment.
right. But you're not running anymore too, right? Are you kind
But
of
I'm running. I'm just not running that long distance so much anymore. My body could only take so much, and
yeah.
I respect it, and so I'm still running, but just not really long distances.
To be honest with you, Jessica, I'm 60 and I feel like I've done the Chevron half a few times. I feel
Hmm.
like I like the 5Ks for some reason, they're quick and they're done in no
Yep.
time. So,
Yes, it's quick and easy, and be home in an hour.
yeah.
No, but and I think your knees will thank you later.
Yeah. But Jessica, listen, it was really an honor to have you. Um, uh, I really like listening to your products and your reporting. And if you guys want to reach me, my email is grabbingcoffeewitharun, ARUN at gmail.com. And listen, Jessica, you're truly an inspiration. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Thank you.